Hey everybody, welcome to the Pandora Theater. I'm Clint Schaffer.
And I'm Chad Weeks, and we're a couple guys who like movies and like to talk about movies. Actually, tonight we're a few guys. B, introduce yourself.
I'm Brandon Fitzsimmons, and these guys brought me in tonight to do a deep dive on the MCU.
So grab your popcorn,
Fill up your drinks,
and enjoy the show.
Hey, welcome back. Hey B, I just want to say welcome to the Pandora Theater, man. Thanks for being on it.
Oh, I'm really excited since I met you guys through the JCs a few years ago. We've had our share of conversations about Marvel and comic books in general, and I'm really glad to be here today talking about it even more.
Yeah, I feel like this is the one show that Clint and I have like. This whole podcast should have just started with this one because this is what we really want to talk about. Marvel movies, right?
When I got the invite to come, I was actually really surprised that you had this left. I couldn't believe you hadn't gone through all the Marvel movies yet.
Well, we had to get warmed up though, right? You know, you don't want to just jump right into it. You got to warm up a little bit.
Exactly. So let's jump into it though. Where do we want to start on this one?
So, I mean, we're looking at all 23 movies, right? I mean,
Yep.
that's...
Yep. I say that this time we focus on the first part, what we've already seen, and then the next episode we can go do a deep dive into what's coming down the road.
So when we say, though, 23 movies, just to give the viewers and the listeners just a little insight, we're starting in 2008 with Iron Man.
Yep.
And we're going to, 2019 with Spider-Man Far From Home?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of Wanda in here, but that's all. We'll focus on Phase 4, which was Phase 1 through 3, the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
It was so.
Okay, perfect.
I love it. So starting that off, where would you start? What would you rank as your top 5 favorite movies?
You know, just because that's such a hard question and I need a little bit of time to think, I'm going to kick that over to B and say, hey, B, what's your top five movies here?
Perfect.
Welcome to the podcast, right?
Bring me in. Let me carry the show. I get it.
So you want to go? You want him to go all 5 at one? Yeah, let's do all 5 at one time. Let's
go for it.
What's number 5? That's the first question.
Well, I'll say this. My top 3 are a solid top 3. I know what my top 3 are for sure. The bottom 2 in my top 5 are a rotating cast of probably 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But currently, as it sits, Spider-Man Homecoming is number 5 for me.
Okay, I like that.
I thought that bringing in Tom Holland, I thought he was actually a pretty good fit. Really gave that teenage boy Spider-Man, brought it back to high school and made it feel like high school.
Wasn't he the perfect blend though of like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire? Yeah. It was like those two didn't have the whole package, and then Tom Holland just was like, I'm going to take the best of both of you and just bring it into this character.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield was definitely disadvantaged by different choices with those movies that really, I mean, it took him a more serious path than the Raimi versions before him, and obviously what the MCU's done since.
It's almost a Zack Snyder version of the Spider-Man there, wasn't it? Everything was dark and ominous, and it's just sadness throughout the whole thing.
You bring up a good point though, B, because like, how do you compete when you tie Spider-Man into the MCU, right? I mean, wasn't it was it Civil War was the first time he came swinging in?
Yeah.
Right? And like that moment, tell me that's not one of the best moments like
absolutely.
In the MCU.
Underoos!
I mean, absolutely fantastic though. I mean, that's like the first time where it's like, finally.
Yeah,
Finally
you've been waiting for it forever. Marvel and Sony got their stuff together and made it happen, and the MCU's been better for it.
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
I want Marvel and Sony to get their stuff together more though, because
I want to see the claws, man. I want to see the
I'm
claws.
not talking about the claws. I'm talking about Venom and Carnage.
Yep.
I want to see that. No, that's Fox. You're on to Fox right now, but I want to get Sony, and I want a Spider-Verse style. I want that so bad. And we also got Marissa Tomei out of that one too. So let's not forget about Marissa Tomei.
A fantastic Aunt May. Definitely went a different path than we've seen. We're used to seeing a blue-haired old lady.
Yeah.
Marissa Tomei is not that. A very nice change up.
Yeah, if you've gone from the comics to like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man to the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man till the Tom Holland one, like Aunt May is getting so much younger. The next one she's gonna be like a high school girl.
What's your fourth?
Fourth is going to be Guardians 1. I thought that was a great change in the MCU. Brought in a cosmic element while really going heavy-handed with the comedy. I thought it brought in some great actors. You get Chris Pratt, Dave Bautista, Zoe Saldana. You get Karen Gillan's Nebula. You get a lot of great actors, and then you get the voice cast of Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel. I mean, all overall, I thought it was hilarious, and it was such a great change up.
Who would have thought that Batista would be that funny?
Right.
He's perfect in that role. He can play a perfect straight man, but while still being the funniest person on camera.
Yeah.
We joked about Hulk Hogan wanting to be, or about Hulk Hogan movies just randomly up before this all started. And I don't want to bring up Hulk Hogan movies, but I do want to bring up the fact that like Hulk Hogan really wanted to be an actor when he was younger, in his career. And guys like The Rock and Batista and even the You Can't See Me guy.
Cena.
John Cena. Like those guys are actually doing it. They are becoming big actors.
Yeah.
So good for them. I feel like you're not mentioning the music though, and I feel like that's what makes Guardians of the Galaxy so good. That is the best soundtrack, probably. I mean, not probably, but one of the best soundtracks of all time. Like such, and it's not. It's great. A lot of '80s movies that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be on a soundtrack. I think that's a fantastic movie.
No, and they play, and obviously that plays into his character, which always makes it feel so much more organic than just throwing '80s music on top of anything. It's a nice change from what they've done in the past.
Was it not great? Because the opening scene of Guardians, like I love, right? Like when he's roaming around and he's kicking these creatures and he's singing into them. And for them to revisit that in Endgame, and then you're watching somebody with headphones on, so you don't get to hear the soundtrack, and he just looks like an idiot out there, I thought that was such a good play on them.
It was Rhodey, wasn't it, that was watching him? He's like, he's an idiot.
He's an idiot. Yep.
Which is perfect. Don Cheadle's one of those other actors in the MCU that is such a great straight man for all the other just shenanigans that is going on around him.
Yeah. And then what was his line in Age of Ultron? Boom! Did you drop this?
yeah, his little story.
His joke.
Yeah. All right, number 3.
Number 3 is Black Panther. Again, brings it back to Earth, but really tells a story that I don't think anybody expected to see that character come to life quite like that. The sets were gorgeous. Costumes were fantastic. Ryan Coogler did a fantastic job with the writing and the directing of that. And then again, soundtrack was incredible.
Really good soundtrack. That was another good one.
It was one of those movies too that like it had everything. It gave you a case of the feels. Like they had just enough lighthearted comedy in there as well on the front side of it, and then it was just of course deep and dark as well. I mean, it was just such a good movie.
That's probably the first time they introduced a really relatable villain, right? Like like I mean we say villain, but is he a villain? Honestly, at this point. Here's a question for you, both of you. Who's more of a villain right now, Wanda or Killmonger?
I think simply by intent, I've still got to go Killmonger. But you bring Wanda into it, you gotta question how long she knew what she's doing. But I mean, what she did wasn't good by any means. But Killmonger was, while his intentions, Endgame may have been well intentioned. He knew how he was getting to those means.
Yeah. What do you think, Clint?
Yeah, no, I would say Killmonger.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, just because you're talking about someone who like literally goes around and like in order to get what he needs, he has no thought of killing somebody, whether it's good, bad, or in between. I mean, at least Wanda isn't going around like murdering these people.
Yeah.
So I mean, there is that aspect, but I do have to say, Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan. Dude. I hated the fact, and this is my argument about almost every movie in Marvel. Why do you keep killing like the most awesome people like in the universe?
Yeah.
Because Killmonger, I wanted to see more.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I loved Michael B. Jordan in that role, and it's like, give me more of that.
No, he was great.
Still want more. Like, and especially now with the Black Panther mantle, like if they would have just kept him alive. Like they could have passed that on to him in some way.
They could have tried to redeem him. They could have done something to bring him in.
You know, the thing is, ultimately, you say redeem him, and this is where I'm going to say. I would say I'm not going to say it, but I would probably say Wanda because of the fact that Killmonger, his intention was just to bring them into the world and start helping the rest of the population, like as opposed to just hiding. Like the whole time they've been hiding for years, and that's what it was his birthright too, you know. So there's that.
I mean, I think Killmonger went at it vindictively. He went at it. He felt like he had been wronged, and was trying to get revenge. Where Wanda was grieving and was trying to do anything she could to make herself whole again.
Yeah.
Without truly knowing what she was doing.
Wanda's more of a mental health
Absolutely.
movie, like
Absolutely.
I think it's always hard to. It's like Killmonger. I would compare him. It's hard to compare him and Wanda. I would compare Killmonger to like the Punisher.
Yeah.
Right. Like I can see them doing the same types of activities. They go about things a very similar way. Where you can say, yeah, they're doing it for maybe some of the right intentions. They're just not going about it the moral way, right?
Yep.
Well, I think the one thing that we've missed is Killmonger did kill his girlfriend right before he got on that plane, just so somebody wouldn't have leverage over him. He just point blank killed her,
Okay.
just to make his escape a little easier.
Okay. All right. Duly noted. And all right.
Yeah,
so
where do
he
you
was worse
stand
than
now,
Wanda.
Chad?
Yeah.
Jeez.
All right. B's first day on the job, and he's already just showing me up. All right, whatever. That's
what I'm here for.
What's number two? Are you on number two, right?
Yeah,
number two.
two.
Okay.
I say two. Number two.
Number two. So number two is probably what I consider the best action movie. And it's not even a full action movie. You got spy thriller, Winter Soldier, Captain America 2, Winter Soldier, bringing back Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier. To me, that is top to bottom a complete movie that has so many different facets to it. You've got action, which is intense the entire way through. You get the spy thriller. You get a lot of reveals, Hydra reveals, which was great at the time. We didn't know yet how deep Hydra had infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D.
Winter Soldier was one of them that made me feel. It almost felt like a James Bond movie, right? Like like the closest thing to that James Bond. And I think you're alluding to that with the spy
absolutely.
thing, right?
If James Bond could like physically jump onto a Quinjet.
Yeah. And who says he can't?
Yeah,
we
I
don't
guess
know
We
that
haven't
yet.
seen it yet.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we won't.
But no, that's a great one. I feel like as a whole, like the Marvel fans would put that one probably at the top of the list for the most part, because maybe it's probably because of the action. I don't know. I like it a lot. I'm just not on a huge I'm not a huge Bucky fan, and it's been a problem for me since the beginning. It's like, man, I'm so sick of him being. And you think like Clint and I doing this thing, a couple friends, from way back when. You think that the buddy system between him and Cap would be part of it, but I just don't like Bucky. I just get so. I just can't.
I have to say, unpopular opinion, but I'm right there with Chad. I think that Bucky is like one of the worst characters in the MCU.
Yeah.
Like he's now. What I do have to say, without going into it, watching the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is bringing my hopes that I'm going to fall in love with this guy.
Yeah,
right?
that's going to bring it all the way around.
Yeah, I think it's going to bring it around. I just have not been a huge fan of the. Even the back and forthness of Cap and Bucky, sometimes it's just overplayed in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just maybe not in my taste.
Yeah, and Sebastian Stan, it's there because Sebastian Stan's a great actor, and he's very I think maybe that's another part of it for me is the fact that he hasn't had any personality since the first Avenger. Since the first Captain America, he's been basically a lack of personality altogether, devoid of personality because of the fact that he's been brainwashed the whole time.
I feel like he could have been like completely replaced with either Jon Snow or Robb Stark. I feel like one of those actors, Kit Harington, or I can't remember the other guy's
That's
name.
our first
but
Game
it's
of
like,
Thrones reference, and
that is
I'm
true.
sad
Yeah.
just I'm going to do that too.
But I honestly think that they that's where I look at Sebastian Stan. And I'm like, yeah, we got like the second-rate Robb Stark.
Yeah. So what do you got for number one?
Number one is Thor Ragnarok. I thought, man, they played another great movie, a great soundtrack to a movie. And they just played into some great comic book stories. It was hilarious the whole way through.
Planet Hulk.
With great action on top of it.
Yeah, it was very, very comedic. You could like that. You could tell they were really pushing for them. There's a lot of adult humor in there too. After you and I had this discussion about the top two, I think after one of our trivia nights, and I rewatched both Captain America: Winter Soldier and Ragnarok, and there's a lot of like pretty racy humor in there for that thing. Like it was very.
That, I mean, you said it. I mean, it's just one of the best movies out there. And I think the only thing I would say about Ragnarok, and this will get into probably my list, right, of where I go. But I mean, they borrowed a lot of what they did from a previous movie that was already mentioned, right? And I look at the music, I look at the colors, I look at everything else, and it's like,
I would agree with that.
You did a lot, and it was awesome, but it's like I almost take a little bit away from it because it's like you weren't the first.
Yeah, because they went from Thor, the Thor Dark World to Ragnarok, and it is a 180. Well, I guess they might have tried it with
Thor and Thor Dark World are, in my opinion, and I know we may be getting to this a little later, but are two of the worst films in the MCU.
I would like to. What is your worst? Is that?
I think it would have to be. I think I would go Thor: Dark World. I think would be like my worst film in the MCU.
I put it at about number 30 on the list of 23. It's just terrible.
That's another one that I rewatched to try and appreciate it, and I just can't. I feel like it's just like the whole story is all over the place, and like all the stuff because I love Thor. So like you mentioned Thor, I would put Thor close to my top 10 or in my top 10 probably. But Thor's great. I just did not like Dark World. And I didn't like what's his name? His friend Eric. I didn't write it down.
The scientist.
The scientist,
yeah,
being crazy and naked the whole time. It's like they're just trying too hard to do something. I don't know. It was just a bad. Whatever.
Yeah,
Glad we got Darcy back though for WandaVision.
She was great. She was great in that.
Darcy is fantastic, and that's we've talked about that, right? I mean, she adds a good flavor to that. But no, like the Thor. The issue that I've had with the Dark World and some of even the first one, Thor plays such a big part that's where finally in Ragnarok it was like he got his movie finally, and like he hadn't had it until then, where it's like finally one of the largest characters who arguably is one of the most powerful, right? Yeah, and absolutely. It's like he just hadn't had his movie yet to where in Ragnarok you're like. We got to see his power. Yep. It's not wrapped up in Mjolnir. It's him, right? I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, he kind of felt like a forgotten A-lister in the Avengers until that movie, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, he is the big guy. He is the big guy.
Which is the thing, if you look at the actual the Avengers, the 4 Avengers movies, that's what we were saying from day one. It's like, how do you actually give enough screen time to Robert Downey Jr., to Chris Evans, to Chris Hemsworth, to then you add in the Guardians, and it's like, holy cow! Like, how do you even give enough time to these guys?
Here's a follow-up question to that, because we kind of made it official, starting with Ragnarok, that the strongest Avenger would be Thor. Until we move on from them. But at that point, it's Thor. Then you go into Endgame, and the Hulk. Infinity War, sorry, and the Hulk gets thrashed by Thanos. So, where's Hulk dropping down on this list? I mean, I feel like do you feel like he's losing his, because now he's the scientist guy. Now he's the smart Hulk, and he's doesn't want to smash anymore, and he's even got his arm messed up from the snap. So where's Hulk going on this one? That's something to talk about probably in the next episode. When we do the future things. But I just feel like the Hulk has really had a unceremonious slide down the power chart here.
Well, in Age of Ultron, though, he did completely destroy and dismantle the Hulkbuster.
He did.
Actually, he did end up losing that fight technically,
he ended up getting knocked out. He did end up getting knocked out. So he's lost so many times.
Oh man, you're right. I was like, yeah. Yeah, he actually ended up losing that fight.
But I mean, he's like that A-lister. You always stick him against the toughest opponent. Nobody else was gonna do much else. He did take some L's, but he had some tough fights to go into him.
But what I'm saying is the Abomination comes back to fight the Avengers, and they'll be it'll probably be Thor and Captain Marvel and the Scarlet Witch and whoever would be like, hey, Hulk, just sit this one out, all right? We got this. Just
Well-
let one of us do it.
Well, the strongest right now, without a doubt, is Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
I mean they have her powered so high that it's like when she comes into Endgame and it's just like flies right through Thanos' ship, and it's like, well, we should have started with that one.
yeah, next time lead with that.
Yeah, let's lead with that.
I would have to guess, this gets into, future, but she's going to have to lose at least a chunk of those powers in Captain Marvel too, which you run across in a lot of sophomore movies.
Oh, yeah.
What are you without your powers? Are you actually a hero, or are you just superhuman?
I picture what it would have been, how much better it would have been if Captain Marvel and Thor would have played Get Help against Thanos in that one and just start off with that one. Let's do Get Help.
All right. So, Chad, what is your 5 to 1?
My 5 to 1. Okay, so we already talked about Guardians of the Galaxy, which would have been my number 1. So moving backwards, I'll move back from 1 to 2 or 1 to 5 on that one. So 2 for me would have been Avengers, the first Avengers. And I'm kind of sad you guys didn't mention the Avengers because I feel like that was the first time where we saw a superhero. I mean, it wasn't the first. Didn't feel like it was the first time we'd seen a well done together or put together superhero team. And you talk about the humor. You realize how much fun you could have and how much backstory you could add onto all these characters, and still give them all screen time. And it's beautiful. I still think of Thor getting punched by the Hulk, that nonchalant after they thrash each other, and then the Hulk with the puny god stuff. And
it's funny we were just talking about Ragnarok. I think one of the absolute funniest times in Ragnarok was when the Hulk, when he was fighting Thor, and he smashes him back and back, and Loki stands up and he's like, "That's how it feels."
That's what it feels like.
And it's just like that was one of the greatest scenes when he just smashes him in the Stark Tower.
Marvel goes back to material perfectly. Like, it's great.
No, and I will say when Hulk punches Thor at the kind of at the culmination of that battle, to me that was one of those just laugh out loud funny moments that they hadn't quite had one of those yet in Avengers.
Yeah,
and that really I think was again another shift in how they knew to go with the movies.
Yep, and it dove into like the character depth of Captain America because you had him involved. But this one, you see him really become the leader, and he's like, even the police, when he's talking to the police, and he says, I need a line up here. I need you guys to go do this and that. And the other thing, he's like, well, why we should listen to you? And then he thrashes a couple of the. But I just feel like that, and also when you're talking about Tony Stark, Tony Stark, and his first time where he really was willing to sacrifice himself for the greater good and that sort of thing. It was him becoming less selfish and that sort of thing too. So there was just a lot to take in with Avengers, and man, that movie that is a transcending movie is what it is. Like, it really is, because it started this.
Well, it also allowed you to hate and fall in love with Loki as well.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's like, it's one of those guys where I still don't even know where to put him on the love-hate scale, because I'm like, every 5 minutes I hate him, and the other 5 minutes I freaking love the guy. So it's like, I don't know.
He tricks you into falling in love with him every single time you see him on screen, and then he rips your heart out every single time.
Yeah. Poor Thor. And then like Thor says it best though when they're talking about it. He's like, when they say the Hulk, Mark Ruffalo. He's like, that guy, his bag's a bag of cat. His mind's a bag of cats. You can smell the crazy on him. Be careful how you talk. That is my brother. He killed 82 people in one day. He's adopted. Okay, so
Number 3.
Number 3 for me would be I'm gonna go Civil War here. Another one where I feel like there was a lot of action on this one, and I feel like they took on a lot of real life tones. Like it became more realistic because they started talking about the damage that they're doing when they're out kicking ass, like Tony Stark says, and that sort of thing. But it made it more realistic for me, and I feel like you really saw the culmination between Tony Stark and Cap, especially when you figure up like from Avengers to Civil War, where they went from buddies and becoming close together to now they're on opposite sides of the wall here, and they have a great that battle scene. Man, that's an incredible battle scene.
Here's the other thing. It also gave us Spider-Man.
Yep.
It gave us Ant-Man coming into the Avengers.
Yeah. Yep.
It gave us Black Panther, right?
Oh, yeah, I forgot Black Panther was coming in.
He wasn't actually in superhero form,
Yeah.
but I mean, we watched his dad get blown up, right? I mean, that was kind of the whole start of that. So I mean, it was a lot of story arc in Civil War, right? And I don't know. That was a heavy movie.
It's too bad that we called that a Captain America movie and we didn't get a true third Captain America movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that was an Avengers movie.
Yeah, that was Avengers 2.5.
Avengers bonus. Yeah. Well, the line, there's a lot of good lines in that one too. The line where Black Panther is talking to Romanoff and he's sitting on the bench I'm going to slaughter this, but so now as King, or maybe he's talking to Cap, as King and Warrior, how are you going to defend, or how are you going to keep him away from me, or something like that, talking about Bucky. I think that was a really cool line. I feel like that's one of those really powerful, like, because how are you? I mean, he's Black Panther. So number 4, where am I at on number 4? I should have wrote mine down. I had Civil War. I went with the other Spider-Man Far From Home. I feel like that one was kind of the opposite reason why you said, it felt was a good high school feeling, but I feel like this one was a little bit more dealing with adult tones and that sort of thing, where there wasn't just so much high school built around, but it was more him having to make life-changing decisions about what he's going to do with all this power. This is the first time where he's really having to adjust the power, and also it gave us Zendaya, and I'm going to be the first to say that I do not care as much about these superhero movies having couples. I don't feel like it's necessary to have that for some reason, but for Spider-Man it is. I feel like his relationship and the chemistry between him and Zendaya is incredible, and I love seeing them on screen together. I absolutely love it. I also loved Mysterio. I can't think of his name right now.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Yep. Man, he is great, and I hope he's still alive for the next phase, because I want more of Mysterio.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Mysterio was good. That was one of those, like, going into that movie, it was hard to get your mind wrapped around how they were going to handle Mysterio in a real-life movie, right? It's like, how are they going to give him his powers? How are they going to do this stuff? And then it's like, oh, I get it, and it was really cool on that nice little twist there.
Yeah, and he the whole time, because you're thinking from the comics and stuff like that, he's the bad guy the whole time.
Absolutely.
But it's like, but you also like, I really like this guy. He's great.
That,
he doesn't
that
have to be a bad
scene,
guy.
when he talks to Peter Parker when they're sitting at the bar, and it's just like, I love this guy.
Yeah,
I'd give him the Edith glasses too, because he's the superhero.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised they didn't all hug afterwards. Like, that was beautiful. Go ahead.
Were you tricked at all? Did you think Quentin Beck actually might not be the villain?
No, I didn't think that he could. I couldn't imagine it not being, because, like, I don't know.
I'm shamelessly gonna have to say yes.
I am too.
Did you really?
I was buying in. I was buying in that he may be from a different world. I was buying in that it may be a Mandarin type switcheroo. That, hey, we think Mysterio is going to end up, turning in the end, but here we go, out of nowhere, we had no idea this new villain's coming in.
Yeah,
I
hope for the whole time until obviously he hands off the glasses and everybody knows what's happening then. But I really did hope.
Yeah, as soon as the bar turned, like, that was a cool reveal too.
Absolutely.
Like, it was like, and you just like starts clapping, and
it revealed several things, right? You reveal that he's the bad guy, but it also shows you how he's doing all of this too. Mm-hmm. So it was a really cool, like, a lot of things end up happening.
Yeah.
Right
and
there.
how many people are in on it?
Yeah.
I mean, how many people had to get together to pull all this off?
And
he's
all
not working
that
alone.
Has been screwed over by Tony Stark, right?
We met
Which
them
is kind of
before.
cool,
And one of the guys actually was from Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
Watching Obadiah just ream him up and down about Tony Stark made this in a cave. And it's like, that's that same guy. That is how great Marvel is at just the tiny details. Do you notice that this has been going around like some Marvel circuits, that the newscaster in all the Marvel movies is the same newscaster?
Oh, nice.
He's the same
really?
guy giving the news every time.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's like J.K. Simmons in Spiderman, right?
Exactly. God, I love that.
That's
a great reveal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 5.
Number five. I'm going to go a little bit more A little easier, but number 5 is Infinity War for me, not Endgame, but Infinity War, just because I feel like it was more heart wrenching, more like you saw how much everybody cared for each other at this point, and you saw it in Endgame too. And Endgame gave you that stuff that you really love, it gave you the moments, it gave you all that stuff that you've been waiting for, and it was a payoff. Endgame was a payoff, but Infinity War was just, it gave you the idea that things are going to look different after this is all said and done. We're going to have a whole different world when this is all done. And man, that's a chilling. Like literally gives me chills to think about it. That's my number 5.
Watching Spider-Man get dusted at the end of that, and not only watching Iron Man's reaction to it, but Peter's reaction about how he failed.
Yeah.
He failed Tony Stark, and he's sad that he failed. Then he gets scared that he's going away.
Yeah.
And to watch Tony just relive that, or to live that in that moment, it's heart-wrenching.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it is one of those things that you and I talked about this the other day, but I got to bring it up because it's in Infinity Wars. But, I was reading about Doctor Strange, and they were talking about what his true enemy is.
Yeah.
And it's not Thanos, right? So, like, when he sits down and sees the 1 in 14 million chance, right, he could have just rewound time and stopped Peter Quill from being a jackass and got the gauntlet away from Thanos, but he doesn't do that, right? Because Thanos isn't his true enemy.
Yeah.
It's the Infinity Stones. And he knew the only way to destroy the Infinity Stones was to get them actually to Thanos. And then ultimately do what they did within Endgame, which is a really cool twist into Doctor Strange's mind, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like he's really not sitting there thinking the same way that the rest of the Avengers are. Mm-hmm.
This is the type of theory that's going to build up for another 23 movies. And then 10 years from now, we're going to finally get the payoff that this was actually what was happening way back in Endgame, because that's what Marvel's going to do to us.
It just made sense because it was like the way this described it, it was the Infinity Stones are the only thing that jeopardizes the magic.
Yeah.
Right? And we're starting to see that in WandaVision too, right? And it's like, well, we don't have Infinity Stones anymore, but now we got Chaos Magic and we got all this other magic that's out here. And it's like, he needed to get rid of the one thing that could defeat what he had, right?
Yep. It's pretty clear the next one, their magic is going to be a big focal point. Like, there's going to be a lot of magic going on. So,
now you look at obviously the upcoming movies, and you look at each one of those titles, and you can see how they're going to tie into magic.
Yep, absolutely.
Did we buy you enough time that you can give us your top 5 now?
Yeah, that's what's nice about pushing it back over to you all. I gotta sit here and think about it a little bit. So. All right, I'm going to do the same thing that Chad did, and I'm going to start from my number 1, and I'll go to number 5. So I, too, like Chad, will start with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Such a game changer.
Number 1.
Yeah.
It's one of the movies that it has literally everything I want in any kind of movie, and it just so happens to be a superhero movie, right? Like that's the amazing
What was that number on yours?
It's number 6. Or no, that's number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah.
So it's just wild that's on the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's so far the same one that we've had on all of our lists. So.
Yeah. Number 2, right after that, and this will align with yours a little bit. I would go Thor Ragnarok, and again, it's really similar feelings on why I love that. Number 3 for me is going to be slightly different as well. I'm going with Iron Man, the original Iron Man.
Yeah,
and that was just that. It's just the first time that, you get to see Tony Stark, you get to see Iron Man, and it's like you knew something special was happening. And I'm not saying it's a better movie than some of the others on the list. I'm saying just where I put it. I absolutely love it.
It kicked off 23 movies, and I don't know, I think they've got 10, 15 that they've announced in the works. I mean, it's a solid movie even now, 13 years later, but yeah, it deserves to be in the top for sure.
Yeah, there's no reason why it's not on all of our tops here. I mean, it's just because they've had 20. I mean, the only reason is because they've had 22 movies since that have been absolutely phenomenal, and it's hard to beat, or it's easier to beat something that was 13 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, it's just there, and there's so many awesome scenes in it. It sets everything up, and like I said, Tony Stark to me is like there's only two characters that I put into this category. Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark, and Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Yeah.
And it's like, and those are the two.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, spoiler alert, if you haven't been, in this watching these movies in the last like 10 years, but both of those guys die on screen.
Yeah.
Yep.
I cried my eyes out on both of those deaths.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's well deserved.
And it wasn't me crying over the character. It was me crying that it's like, I don't get to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine anymore.
Yeah.
I don't get to see Robert Downey Jr. play Iron Man anymore. Like, man, it's just heart-wrenching to me.
I think the biggest point that you made there was just you knew something special was coming.
Yeah.
And that's you did. The whole time you're watching it, like something has just changed in the whole world. I mean, like everything. Because now Marvel's not just comic books or cartoons or whatever. It's like everything. It's kids' personalities and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Like this real life now.
This is a big deal.
You talk about how well Marvel does callbacks. Obviously, the parallel there is at the end of Iron Man 1, you get the first I Am Iron Man, which was an incredible way to end that movie. And then as an answer to I Am Inevitable. Sorry.
Inevitable.
I Am Inevitable.
Yeah. It's all right.
You get Tony Stark's response, again, I am Iron Man. But the juxtaposition between the two of them, one is selfish, hey, look at me, I am Iron Man. And the last one's, hey, I'm Iron Man. Yeah. I'm giving my life. There's just one selfish, one selfless. Yeah. There's just a big difference between the two.
And honestly, I appreciate your stuttering on the I Am Inevitable, because if you would have just done that smoothly, we'd probably all be back in the moment and all shed a tear, and we'd have to pause the whole thing and start over. So,
okay, so where am I at? Number 4? Right?
You started on number 5? Okay,
yeah. So I'm on number 4. So I would say my number 4 is Black Panther.
Yeah.
And again, it gave me everything I wanted in a movie. Yeah. And absolutely loved it. Number 5, I'm going to throw a little bit of a twist here. Not in the greatest movie side of things, but I loved it. And it's the original Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And it's another one that if I had to put one of the main movies, I would go Endgame, because I think Endgame is just absolutely amazing. But I'm going to go Ant-Man, because Ant-Man, again, I'm more of a comedy guy. I loved the comedy, but between just all the characters in that. And it was a little bit different. It gave me more of a feel of like a Spiderman too, right? Yeah. Ant-Man's more of like a small town hero, not like, the world hero. So I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Ant-Man's, Paul Rudd's fantastic. He's one of the funniest guys on the planet without ever even trying to be. Like when he says in Civil War, just, hey, you're Captain America. You're great too.
Yeah.
Or no, it was, hey, you're Captain America. Anyway, regardless, like Paul Rudd, he's fantastic. And Ant-Man is fantastic as well. That's a great movie.
So there you go. So, hey, everybody, give us your top 5. We would love to hear what you have to say about all of these different movies. We had some overlapping, but, hey, we also had a lot of different ones. So tell us where we're right, tell us where we're wrong, and let us know in the comments below.
I got another special guest, though.
Okay.
So I got another special guest who brought his list. Okay.
Oh.
All right, so Cohen Finch, Tanya and TJ's boy, he released his top 5, and I want to talk about Cohen's top 5. Okay. First off, before we get into that, you didn't give us a chance to mention. B, I don't know if you've heard the story or not, but Clint, Kayla, and I were down in Atlanta, and we got to see Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, being filmed. I walk out of my hotel, and Clint was actually upstairs, still using the bathroom, so he kind of missed out on it. But as we're sitting there, talking, they started freezing up the streets and everything, and getting ready to go. And the next thing you know, the cars start moving forward, and you hear tires squealing down the road, and then this big flatbed truck, Blue, which is what he uses as a skateboard in Ant-Man and the Wasp, comes rolling down, sliding tires. They got drones videotaping and all this stuff. And it was a really cool moment. And then after it was done, everything just stops, and all these cars just start backing up. And I think that's when Clint walked out, and everything's just backing up. And it's like, what is going on?
I literally walked out, and I'm like, I drank way too much last night. The world is going in reverse literally right now.
Okay, so did you just happen to be in Atlanta when all this is going down, or
we were down
you're telling me you two, the two of the biggest comic book fans I know, just happened to be at a hotel next to where they're filming
We
the
went
movie.
to a Bills and Falcons game.
Yeah, Clint's a Falcons fan. I'm a Bills fan. We walked out. I just literally walk out the door, and it just happens to be filming it because they wouldn't tell us at first. But Kayla and I kind of talked to some of the security guards there, and they're like one of those. They said it's one of those like superhero type movies. I'm like, oh, tell me more.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm
and
in.
then they said something about the villain. She'll be driving. She'll be in that up here. The villain will be in this. She'll be up here. And they said she. I'm like, is this like Ant-Man and the Wasp? And she's like, okay, awesome.
Not as cool, but actually the same time that we were down there was a Walking Dead convention as well. So
Nice.
there was like all that happening. So it was a lot of cool things that were happening at that point.
Cohen Finch is top 5. Okay, he had Endgame, which. And first off, I gotta preface this because his mom wanted me to make sure that I said that this was a very hard list that I mentioned this was a very hard list for him to come up with. so anyway, regardless, Endgame was his number 1.
How old is Cohen?
I don't know the age of Cohen, but I would say 10. But
Okay.
he's probably gonna yell at me because I don't know exactly. I don't know, and I should have checked on that.
All right. Yeah.
So Cohen, drop your age in the comments if you would. But. Endgame is his number 1. Ant-Man is his number 2. Iron Man or Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is his number 3.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm just reading off Clint's list here. Isn't this your list basically? Okay.
Said 10 years old. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
Number 4 is Iron Man.
Okay.
Okay.
Number 5, that's the only one that we haven't mentioned, is Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Ooh.
And I like that one. I like that addition. That was you think about. There's some big moments in that one.
Yeah.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah. Guardians 2, I mean, we can take a moment and talk about Guardians 2. So, I mean, first off, the song Brandy, I mean,
man,
it like
good.
put that back on the
good.
map, right?
It's good.
Yeah.
And the lyrics to that song is that movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, which is really cool, that tie-in to find that. But the only thing is that I got to say, loved the movie in general. Ego, like... It was a hit and miss for me.
Really?
Yeah,
You didn't
and it wasn't. I enjoyed Kurt Russell because Kurt Russell's awesome.
I was gonna say as long as you disliked Ego but liked Kurt
No,
Russell.
I like
Okay.
Kurt Russell.
Okay.
It's just that like getting my head wrapped around that Ego is this planet.
Yeah.
And then it just started getting weird that it's like not even how he was trying to take over and like it just wasn't your stereotypical villain, I guess. Which maybe that's maybe a good thing.
It's just a hard concept to wrap your head around. I think is the best way to say it. This is a planet that can somehow be a person.
yeah.
But I mean, you also have to figure there's a lot of like I would say coming of age, but it's something like that because he's now Star-Lord's having to deal with or having to reface the death of his mom and now who killed his mom.
Who killed, yeah.
You know what I mean? And now he's going to have to save the world. He's going to have to abandon his dad, who he's been looking for his whole life, and kill. I get it. I get that his motives are bad, but it's a really good story. And like
I like it. It also gave us Baby Groot, which Baby Groot, I mean,
yeah.
adolescent Groot, I hate.
Oh God, you're
Yeah.
supposed to. I don't think you like it. Nobody likes a teenager.
Yeah.
Oh. But Baby Groot was like fantastic.
Oh, it was adorable.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
In the end, when he's going to push the button, and it's like
Yeah.
him and Rocket, and oh man,
What about Mantis and
Drax.
Drax the Destroyer? Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because it gave you the first look at like Drax does have that emotional side to him, right? Like we've got to see a little bit more and more of that come out. So I like that.
I just love that he calls her ugly, and that's his way to prove that he loves her.
He's like, yeah. But also there's
I challenge you guys to do that to prove your love to your wives.
That's
And then call me and tell me how that went.
that's what I'm gonna do right when we get done with this, and I'll be staying here. Yes, I'm not gonna be welcome back at home if that's how I start the conversation.
Oh,
Gamora and Nebula have a good relationship there too. Like they got they're coming together moment like that sort of thing.
Yeah, you finally kind of see the other side of Nebula too, which makes you feel a lot more compassion for her, which I also enjoyed that. So
and Michael Rooker's character, that I'm not going to be able to think of his name right now because
Yondu.
Yondu, like Yondu's character was incredible in that movie. Like
Yondu in general is incredible.
Yeah, he really is. Like
Was he?
he was. I think he was. Why was he not? What was wrong?
How many of Ego's children did he drag to Ego
Oh yeah.
to die?
Well, no, he didn't do that though, did he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's the whole premise of the movie.
Yeah, but that's just it. He wouldn't take the boy.
He wouldn't
He
take
eventually
the one.
He
So
didn't.
he took the rest of them?
He didn't. Well, I mean, I think there's like 2,000 bodies down there. Yondu couldn't have done all of that.
Yeah.
But
He definitely
Peter
took
Quill was
several.
not the first
really?
one.
Put this up here because I want to fact check this one.
No, but that's the whole reason why he got kicked out. Is
I
because
told you so.
Yep.
I told you so. Right here. Put it right here,
No.
Clint. Because just
No,
put
I'm with B on this.
Yeah.
Like he definitely took kids.
I'm not saying he took. Obviously, there's 2,000 bodies down there. He didn't
Because
do all
the-
2,000, but Peter Quill was not the first little boy he picked up.
I think that he got them, but I don't think that. I think that they sent him after him specifically.
He just dropped him off at the playground.
I think-
on ego.
Yeah, I think Peter Quill was the first one he found a use for. And may eventually have felt a little remorse
Yes.
and brought him into this.
That's why he got kicked out of the Ravengers.
Yeah, but I thought it was because of the one.
No, it's because of all the,
the
other
other
Telling me
ones.
that Yondu the whole time is just a child kidnapper.
Yes, he was doing it for
he
the
got
money.
better. He got better,
He
but
got better. Yeah, but okay. Well, in that case, then Yondu.
I mean, it still
sucks.
hurts when he died. I mean,
Well, not anymore. No, not if he's a child murderer.
I'm not saying that Yondu is the greatest hero here. I'm saying that I thoroughly enjoy Yondu's character in both of the movies. That's
Yeah.
all I'm stating.
Yeah.
Yondu's great. I think he probably drug a few children to their death, but I'm willing to overlook
Yeah,
that
I just
because
again, I want to point out again, right here. I want to
gonna
say
overlook
Chad was
that.
right or Chad was wrong. Right here. And you're welcome. Okay, so where are we at now?
Well, so is that the?
Oh yeah,
that's the end
that
of
was
the list?
Cohen's last one. Great list, Cohen. I think you and Clint should watch movies together because that is almost identical to Clint's list, except for the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and that would have been on my list. I think. I mean, pretty close.
Yeah, I mean Guardians too. It's the reason why Guardians 2 lost the luster is because of Guardians 1, right? I mean, Guardians 1 was such a great movie that it's like, I don't know, how do you compete with that? Yeah.
If that would have been the first of the Guardians movies, I think we probably would have loved that.
It
one.
would have
Absolutely.
put it at number
Yeah.
one, right?
You ever watch that on like a 4K TV? That's a really great movie to watch. With
The
colors are great. It's
Hey,
fantastic.
the other thing, does anybody know what that car with the T-tops at the very beginning
Oh
of the
man,
movie
you've asked me
is?
this before. We looked it up twice. It was a Mustang something, right?
1978 Mustang Boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's I'm not a Mustang guy, but that is one awesome car.
No, it's great. Okay, let's do bottom three. I'll go ahead and throw mine out there first. We're all going to agree. Thor Dark World is probably our least favorite.
Is that the worst for everybody?
I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing is,
I think everybody in the world. I don't think it's just us three.
I've tried watching it a couple times since just to try and give it some credence
Okay.
to say what am I missing here, but it's just not it. And it's still I'm going to still stand behind it. It's still a good movie, just not comparatively speaking to all these others.
right.
It's just such
That's
a
the
different
worst.
feel.
Yeah.
I've actually got Iron Man 2 at the bottom. I know a lot of people dislike Iron Man 3. I hated Iron Man 2 the most. To me, it felt kind of like a worse rehash of the first movie. Whiplash wasn't bad. I got his motives, but I didn't care for Hammer in it. To me, it just wasn't a huge improvement of the first one.
The Hammer side was a super annoying.
Yeah.
That was because I really like Whiplash, right? I thought he was a really cool.
And I thought they picked a good actor for it.
Yep.
I thought that was good. I just overall didn't care for it. And then my number 3 is probably Age of Ultron. It's still an Avengers movie, but man, you killed a guy who can run so fast with bullets. And that to me just wrecks the whole thing.
I do challenge you to go back and watch it.
Okay.
Because that was one that I didn't really. I thought that it missed when I watched it the first time, and I've watched it a couple times since. And it seems like every time I watch that, I come away with a new appreciation for it, and it climbs my list every time because there's a lot of good stuff in there that I kind of missed. Clint and I talked about it on our last podcast. What was the relationship? Oh, it was the relationship with Quicksilver and Hawkeye, and a few tie-ins there, and the way they tie in. Ultron talking about the twins and how they survived. That it grows on you, man. It does.
I just watched it again as well, and I have a hard time putting it probably where the critics put it.
Yeah. I think it's similar to what you said about Dark World, though. It's not good on these 23 movie standards, but comparatively, it's still a good movie. It just The Avengers set up a lot. There was a lot of good movies before that. I just hope for a little bit more, I guess.
So,
I get that.
I think for me, I think what I would end up doing, I think I would go, of course, Dark World. The next one is the Incredible Hulk. Even Ed Norton's Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Like to me, I just haven't been a fan of and I don't know if it would have changed if it was Mark Ruffalo or not. I just don't think it was a great movie. Like the best part of that movie is when Stan Lee takes a drink of the pop, and that's like the best part of the movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the introduction,
That was a different. That was
the introduction of Thunderbolt Ross.
That was Age of Ultron.
It was Age of
actually.
Ultron. Yeah.
The introduction of Thunderbolt Ross, even though I think that gets recast as well, doesn't
No,
it?
they bring it back.
No, right, but it's the same actor?
Yeah.
I thought they recast him.
Yeah, William
Okay.
Hurt, I think is who it is.
Okay.
Yeah, they bring him back in Civil War.
Yep. I knew they brought him back. I just thought it was a
Yep.
different actor. But introducing him, obviously, more and more we're seeing that he has a bigger role. So, I mean, that is an introduction of kind of a foil for the Avengers that does last through a lot of movies. And he's a guy you love to hate. I mean, every time he speaks, you know you're going to hate everything he says.
I just don't think I just don't think the movie did a lot for me.
Yeah.
So,
No.
and I think after that, it's interesting. This is always what's fun about having conversations, right? I've been probably a hard critic on Iron Man 3. But now that I sit here and I started thinking about it, when you talked about Hammer, I think I'm going to put Iron Man 2 as number 3.
There you go. All right.
I
love to change your mind.
I think I am because I think I loved Whiplash, but I think the whole robot hacking in and all that kind of stuff probably just wasn't as good of a story as what 3. And 3, we did get to see a lot of the emotion of Tony Stark. Right?
See, to me, that was
Like-
that's what brought it up. You see,
Great Christmas movie.
Yeah. Well,
you
the
see
damage,
that
right?
PTSD.
Yeah.
It's to me that was the first introduction in a gigantic mainstream movie where you're seeing damage done. You know, I think it's commonplace now that we talk about mental health a lot now. And when Iron Man 3 came out, and was that 13 or 14? I don't think it was quite as prevalent. Avengers 1 was 2012. Iron Man 3 is I think the next movie after that, so maybe 13 or 14. I think it was the first big film that actually kind of hit on some mental health.
First time him being a father figure.
That is true.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
that's when he kind of took, and he was.
He was really bad at it.
really bad at it.
Really bad.
Yeah, not the greatest,
Well,
but you know,
Well, my parents are dead too. You don't hear me crying about it.
man, if only Batman would say that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Chad, what? Where's your list on this?
I don't know that I want to give mine would probably be pretty similar to you guys, but I don't know if I want to make a list of this because again, I feel like
Whoa! This isn't like
I feel like
options.
I'm cheating on these
it's
movies.
not
I feel like
options
I feel like
here.
I'm doing them dirty. I'm doing bad things because again, these are great
What
movies.
is your worst 3 MCU movies?
I'm not going to say worst 3, but I'm going to say bottom 3.
Okay.
Okay. Thor, obviously. Thor, Dark World.
Okay.
And see, I don't even want to say it because people are going to hate me for it. Captain America, I feel like is the one that's got the least amount of rewatch. The first one, rewatchability for me because it's like, it's okay and it's fun, at times, but it's like
Apparently, it's not.
that is my top of the original Avengers standalone films. I got that above Iron Man 1, Thor 1, and the Hulk, obviously. But that is my number 1 for the standalone.
see, and that's
intro
what
movies.
and that's what I'm saying. And if I had to go with my third, I'd probably say Iron Man 2 as well. There's a lot of good stuff about Iron Man 2, but yeah, it just missed. I mean, it wasn't. But the thing again, like if you're ranking it, it's still like a 6.5. It's not like it's a 4. If you talk about like DC movies, I didn't like Batman versus Superman. It was just pretty.
awful.
Yeah, exactly. So like there's
Actually, I want to say I looked at some of the IMDb's before we jumped on here. I think Dark World got rated the worst, but it was still like a
6.5.
6.5 or something. I mean, most of these were 8s and 9s for the most part. But
that's what I'm saying. You're comparing like some of the best movies in the world to some of the best movies in the world, and it's like, I don't.
But you also have though, and you mentioned this though too, like the rewatchability, right? I do think that some of these take a couple watches.
Mm-hmm.
You and I watched a lot of pretty much after the Age of Ultron. We watched a lot of them because we wanted to talk about WandaVision.
Yeah.
And when I rewatched Captain Marvel, which I was a really tough critic on Captain Marvel, honestly, watching it the second time, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved everything about it.
Yeah.
And it was a totally different experience for me. So
Yep.
I do think that there is some opportunities to, rewatch some of these and say, maybe I get it now.
Well, every movie they give here, they're just giving you so much information that it's hard to digest it all at once. So a second watching is pretty good.
Now, you mentioned that you were having a trouble to pick your bottom three. I literally changed my bottom three since I wrote this afternoon to when I delivered it today.
Yeah.
What I said as my number three was not what I what I have written down. It is so fluid at the those bottom.
I mean, just to
handful
call
and the top.
him out, Ant-Man and the Wasp is in his bottom
Yep.
three right now.
Yep. And now I'm theoretically putting that bottom four. I mean, what? Again,
We're just gonna go backwards down the list. now.
exactly. Run through them all.
So, what's your favorite? Let's talk about this. What are your favorite Marvel cinematic moments? So, what is your favorite moment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Clint, go first.
Why do you always point to me to go first?
Well, because
You're the one asking.
Because I feel like B was stuttering him a little bit there. You got to think about it. Unless you have one right off the top of your head.
My favorite cinematic moment.
Before you give it, I would like to stay away from Endgame because I feel like Endgame has so many of them, and we should talk about them. But I'd like to know.
See, those are to me that's different. Endgame has a lot of great moments,
Okay.
but to me, a lot of that's just fan service.
Yeah.
My favorite, or what I think the best moment, is Tony Stark and Peter Parker at the end of an Infinity War.
Okay.
To me,
That's a
that
great moment,
just absolutely hits you where it counts. I mean, that is a phenomenal moment showing how he has grown. We just mentioned Iron Man 3, where Tony is not a great father figure. He is a great father figure now, and he's watching his adoptive son basically disappear, and he believes it's his fault.
Yeah. He's still not great. I mean, I'm getting. It's not a hug. I'm getting the door for you.
He's not perfect.
He's not perfect.
He gets better.
Yeah.
Man, that is such a hard thing to answer of just
you
the
want-
best. I'm gonna give you my. I'm gonna give you.
What are you going to give me, Clint?
I don't know.
You
I
want me
mean, Tony Stark standing up in front of the reporters saying "I am Iron Man" is probably one of the best chill moments. That's just like I got chills from it, and it was just fantastic.
because he literally stops and he just says he's going through his speech and saying he's not going to do all else. He's why would I do something like that? That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? I am Iron Man, and that is.
Yeah, the other part, and again, I hate talking about Guardians of the Galaxy so much. I'm probably such a fanboy of that movie. When they're all sitting around on Peter Quill's ship, trying to figure out, and then it's like, oh, everybody's standing. Now we're all standing. Like that moment when they finally come together is probably one of those moments where it's like you finally see all these outcasts that don't, they don't have families, they don't have anybody but each other, and it's like that's the first time where it's like, yeah, we got this.
The last
the Guardians.
The last 20 minutes of the Guardians is probably one of the most powerful scenes because you got that, and then you got I am Groot We Are Groot.
Yeah.
And then
You
you have
got
the
the dance off.
Dance off, and they hold hands, like holding the Power Stone. That's awesome. Like that is great. It really is. Mine is from Homecoming. The moment that Spider-Man. What?
Oh man, no, that's I'm with you. I completely agree. I just had forgot that happened.
Okay. Yeah, in Homecoming, where he's at the end and everything's falling down on him and he's completely crushed, and he's immediately reverts back to just being a kid, and he's crying and trying to save his own life basically, and he's like, and then all of a sudden it's like he sees his reflection and says that basically, I'm Spider-Man. There's nobody's gonna help me out of this. I got to do it myself, and he finds his strength to become.
So your favorite time is when Peter Parker is crying because he has a building on him.
Yep.
And your favorite time is when Peter Parker's crying because he's going into a blip.
Yep.
Yeah.
My second favorite time, and what I thought you were going to say.
Awesome heroes, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't expect you to know this, but
yeah, because that's not what I thought you were going with. I thought you were going to say when Peter Parker knocks on Zendaya's door.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's when you get the reveal that not only you get Michael Keaton as the Vultures answering the door, and you got a split second where you don't know if he's figured it out and this is a trap for Peter, or if he's actually the father. And those 20 seconds where you're trying to figure out if what Vulture's doing there is awesome.
Is it not funny though? I mean, I'm sure all of us being dudes here, we've all had that moment of you opening the door and you have to have the talk with the father, right?
Yeah.
First.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was that times 1,000, right?
This
Like
guy spent
it's
the last week trying to kill me.
yeah, like it's like they've been trying to kill each other. It's like, oh my goodness.
So I'm sure that some of my ex's father spent the last week trying to kill me though too. So that's completely possible.
I would say factual.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that's a great scene just in general. And you see it when he's in the car. I can still. Which, by the way, Michael Keaton was always meant to be a bad guy, and he's good. Like he really, like even Birdman and stuff. Like Michael Keaton's a bad guy. I love it. But in the back of the car, and he's looking in the mirror, and he's just good old Spider-Man. Like it's a really chilling moment. It's like, yeah, here we go. Great scene. I got another special guest.
Oh, okay.
Another special guest for his favorite MCU movie. I went with, and again, I got some kids' opinions on these because
whose is this?
well, I haven't said that yet, but I got some kids' opinion on different things here because I feel like 3 grown dudes talking about superhero movies. We should probably have some kids' opinions, right? Okay, so I went to your son, Devin Peters. So Devin Peters, his age is Clint.
12.
12. Good.
Nailed it.
Just so you know, I'm not going to know the ages on any of these kids. So, but I asked him what his favorite moment was. He said saving Pepper Potts at the end of Iron Man 3. So like the whole scene with all the suits coming to life and like that, which it really was just an awesome.
Oh
finish.
man, the house party.
Yeah, exactly.
Such a great moment.
First time we get a glimpse of the Hulkbuster and stuff like that, and there's all sorts of stuff going on there. So
The best part of that, I think that if you're like, and I know Devin is, right? Like, I would assume one of the parts that drives him to that moment, right, is the same reason why probably all of us enjoyed that. You almost want to like pause and rewind. It's like, what suit is that, right? Yeah. And we've all played the video games where we've got to do different suits of Iron Man, and you got to see all that throughout that movie. Yeah. So it was so much fun. And when Tony Stark, you want to talk about action? Dude, the guy ran from like one suit to the next suit to the next suit to the next suit to the next suit.
That's just such a cool way to, he jumps out of one, falls into another. So the suits, talking about playing video games, it reminds me of Mega Man. You'd play Mega Man and you'd defeat a boss, and then you'd get like their power in another little suit. That's what it reminded me of. You get the one that's got he can throw his hands down and like lift stuff. Yeah. He's got pistons for arms.
Regardless of what you've said up to this point, B, just throwing out a Mega Man comment, you are welcome on this podcast anytime.
Perfect. I will probably throw you off with Mega Man. Mega Man 5 is my favorite, and it's one of the worst received. So.
Oh, hey,
but that's for original Nintendo. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I was a big Mega Man fan.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our favorite characters.
Okay.
So let's just go off of favorite characters. We've I don't know if we need to do a top 5 favorite characters or whatever.
This is final topic.
Pretty close to final topic. I got one more for you.
Let's do
favorite. That'll be a quick one.
What about favorite hero, favorite villain?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can do that. Yep.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, favorite hero, favorite villain. So overall, and we got to do MCU here, right?
It's tough. I think we can touch on maybe non-MCU, but.
That's right. Now. Let's make it 5, and we don't have to go into them real deep. But let's make it 5, and you can put them wherever you want. Like, let's not do that. Let's do favorite hero, favorite villain.
Yeah, MCU only.
Yeah.
Okay, MCU only. Favorite hero, favorite villain. I don't need to go first. I'm gonna sit here
sorry.
So
I'm going to go, and Chad, it may be yours as well. Maybe not the MCU version, but Tom Holland's Spider-Man is probably my favorite in the MCU, and he's a late addition. But he's such the audience's avatar into it. He's such a fanboy walking into everything he does that watching him in the movies is like being in the movies.
Yeah.
And him, again, in high school, you can feel all those moments that he's going through, kind of that dichotomy of the two worlds that are just completely different.
Yeah, Spider-Man would have easily been mine, but you took it, so I'm not going to do that.
That's why I went first.
I do want to speak to Spider-Man though a little bit because I think that the depth of him is what makes him so cool because he's so humanized in so many ways, and yet he's also this powerful being. And I absolutely and again, like I said, I love his relationship stuff when he's going through with like the Black Cat and Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy and all that.
I mean, yours is Spider-Man.
Mine is Spider-Man, but I'm going to do a second one. All right,
no, that's it. That's it. It's your top one is Spider-Man.
How about that? Yeah, Spider-Man is still my number one.
And what I think one thing about Spider-Man is if Spider-Man had been born in 1942, Peter Parker would be Captain America. Those two are both New York boys that are truly heroes because of who they are, not the powers they end up with.
Yeah.
And it's just, you get a 60-year difference between the two of them, but they're such similar characters when it comes down to who they are.
Like both of those are 100% like morally sound. Right,
Absolutely.
like everything that they do is morally sound.
One of the first rules that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby had when they were doing Spider-Man stuff like that, it was Spider-Man always does the right thing.
Yeah,
it's like he's always going to be the good guy. He's never going to be the and I love that. I think the world of Spider-Man. I think he's a very complex hero.
So I'm gonna go.
Thor's good too.
I'm gonna go.
Sorry, Chad.
I'm gonna go with the number one is definitely Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Oh, we're talking MCU,
yeah, MCU.
Only? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Man, just such a perfect fit.
He is Tony Stark.
I just look at, there are, Tom Holland is probably the closest one to this for me. But there's very few times in movie just history where you land somebody in the absolute perfect role. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people throughout the MCU that you could say, dude did a great job, but probably could be replaced by blah, 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 right? I don't think you can do that with Iron Man. And I think Tom Holland is honestly right there as well. I think he's by far surpassed the other actors there. But I definitely go Iron Man. I'm going to kick right into my villain.
Yeah.
And I think I just have to. I think I have to go with this villain. I mean, it's Loki.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go with Thanos, and I was just going to flip the table.
Yeah. Thanos. Yeah, I guess that is.
No, I think I have to go with Loki. I think Loki is the one that like I love the sneaky, conniving like type of thing because he's just so greasy, Yeah. But then in the same way, he's like freaking likable.
It's funny. That's what they call him in Dark. Is it the Dark World where he's doing the skit of himself? No, that's in Ragnarok, where it's actually Matt Damon and
correct
and Chris Hemsworth's brother. I can't remember which one it
it's
was.
Not Liam. It's the other one.
The other
and
one.
he's like, yeah, he looks just like me, only a little bit greasier and a little bit, whatever, a little bit less greasy, a little bit less. Anyway,
yeah. So I'm gonna go Loki.
Okay, B.
That's probably a Killmonger.
Yeah.
I mean, he's to me because you understand his motivations. It doesn't mean it's correct. We already had this conversation earlier. He's definitely a villain to me, but you get it. I mean, you understand why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I'm gonna go with Mysterio, but Killmonger would have been right up there because.
But actually, both of those would be.
Yeah.
I mean, right.
Yeah.
That's probably like 1, 2, 3 for me. So.
My biggest hope. Actually, you know what? I should go with Wanda. And the Secret.
There you go.
And Scarlet Witch. But okay, so I asked this on two different fronts. I asked on MCU characters. So I asked MCU characters to Mila Schwenk. You remember Ashley and Andrew?
Yep.
Okay, so Mila Schwenk, her number one is the Scarlet Witch. Her mom's like, she's like, which is great. I love it. That's the perfect answer because she looks forward to the opportunity to talk about the Scarlet Witch, and it's to the point where she just can't get enough of Scarlet Witch. So I love that that's her first character. Okay. Number 2 is Vision, kind of goes hand in hand. 3 is Star-Lord because he's funny, and Thor is 4, and Iron Man is 5. So. I like that list. I think it's pretty great. Great list, Mila. Then I broke it down to a favorite heroes in general. I asked Jackson Schrock, your nephew. His was Iron Man, Spider-Man, Thor, Thanos, and I did say heroes, but I do love that he put Thanos on there because Thanos was awesome, right?
He was great.
Yeah, so that I mean he really made that. He was the star of both of those last two movies.
That goes back into though like just how awesome Josh Brolin is.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin was phenomenal as Thanos. Thanos was incredible. Obviously, honorable mention for villains. Just Hydra in general. I mean, has been a driving factor through the whole thing. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like Thanos. You can't really name them as the top villain because they were everywhere.
I feel like everybody wanted to could have put Thanos there, but they didn't because he's just so
absolutely.
And then number 5 for Jackman was Batman, which, you know, I'm not a Batman guy, but I can totally see that. That's, you know.
I'm watching Batman Beyond right now on HBO Max. I think that started in 2000. It's the cartoon. Man, underrated.
Yeah.
Actually, a really, really entertaining show.
Which one is this one? Sorry.
So it's the one where you jump forward in future. So I think it's 2000s
Batman
cartoon.
Beyond, you say? Is that?
Yeah, Batman
Okay,
Beyond. Yeah.
Great.
The cartoon.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a Batman Beyond in the DC universe here soon because Michael Keaton. Anyway.
That'd be great.
Okay, Clint, last one.
Last one.
Last
All
one.
right.
Who would you like to see brought into the MCU?
Wolverine.
I know. That's why I was almost going to write these down and be like, "Here's what I'm going to say. Here's what everybody's going to say," and go ahead with
Wolverine followed by Deadpool.
Well, you get one. I said one. Wolverine.
You got 2.
I didn't get 2.
You said Spider-Man and then Thor.
All right. B, who do you want brought? Who do you want brought into the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Absolutely not Wolverine. Because I don't want to see a recast of Hugh Jackman. I just can't see it again.
It's gonna be tough.
Because if they do it again, they're gonna go back to redo it to make it not Hugh Jackman like. They're gonna go to a small guy and make him like the comic book character.
Yeah.
I mean Wolverine in the comics 5'7", 5'8".
Yeah.
And they made him this huge hulking character in the X-Men movie, which was great, and it was phenomenal. I just don't think I can see a recast of Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something that's really going to be tough to do until we do it. And then next thing
It'll
it's
be
going to
awesome.
be like, oh, man.
I know.
be
I mean, how
absolutely
many of
awesome.
these characters have we seen that you've been like, man, I don't know if that's going to work? And
Second
they've
time
nailed
I've
it.
thrown his name out. Kit Harington could play Wolverine.
But they've actually talked about him playing Wolverine.
Yeah, shorter
So
guy too.
who are you wanting to bring in then?
I mean, Deadpool is probably my number one just because I can't wait to see how they handle that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Disney said they're going to keep it R-rated. But that'll be interesting.
They won't. The issue with Deadpool, they won't keep it R-rated in anything outside of the Deadpool movie.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like if we bring him into the MCU to where he's showing up into an Avengers, I just don't. I worry that it's like. It's got to be like a cameo of him like getting like coffee in the background or something,
Correct.
right? Like it can't be a main role because you can't deliver the flavor.
He can go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think what they would do is maybe just steal some of the gore and the violence from the other parts of the movie and really save it up for Deadpool's 30, 60 seconds. He's going to have a 30-second, like, heads blowing off.
When you get like 2 or 3 cuss words, right, in a PG-13 movie or whatever, so, they'd save him for him.
I think it's going to be more like he's going to be the next Stan Lee. Like when he shows up and he's like, they're going through this and there's randomly just a Deadpool in the background that's surprised because there's a war going on behind him and he's just trying to eat.
But he's also looking at us.
Yes, exactly.
Because he's got to break the wall.
Correct,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Absolutely.
So that's why I could see Deadpool working into it. Mine would be Gambit. I want a real good version of Gambit. I want that thick Creole accent. I want Gambit so bad. I want Remy
You've always
LeBeau.
been a huge Gambit
I
fan.
am. I don't know why he's not like the most popular X-Men in the world because I think he's so cool and he's a loner and he's also part of the team, so he can do his own thing. They could start off the whole universe, the whole
He's
X-Men.
like
I know where you're going with this.
He's
Go
like
with Raphael.
no, he's like Wolverine except less cool. Okay, yeah, no, that's right. Yeah.
They've been tossing around Channing Tatum as Gambit for a while. I think it's an incredible fit.
It's an incredible fit. I think that it's done though. Now I think they finally just scrubbed that.
I almost
version.
feel like Channing Tatum though would be like too big of a guy for Gambit. Like Gambit's more of like he's a wiry Cajun,
Who was the guy that they had for him in the X-Men Origins Wolverine?
Yeah.
He plays in like. I'm not going to be able to come up with anything.
No,
but,
I don't remember. I don't remember that character.
But
at all.
regardless, it was so bad, and like he wouldn't have been that bad. But then they have him like climbing the wall with his staff, and it's just come on,
let's
man.
just say that the origin movies as a whole haven't been like
That would have been great if they would have taken Deadpool, a real Deadpool version, and a real Gambit version. That movie could have been so great, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so special guest solution here. We had Cooper Knisley. He wanted Deadpool, and I'm going to put one in here for him too because I thought this is what he was going to say, but he didn't. And Miles Morales.
oh my
Yeah. Now I regret not saying Miles
Yeah,
Morales.
I expected you to do it. I'm like,
we've talked about this.
Yeah.
My favorite Spider-Man right now is Miles Morales, and I cannot wait until they bring him into the MCU.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be absolutely fantastic. And it's got to happen, right?
I think we're getting it this next Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
I mean, between Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was fantastic, right?
Absolutely incredible.
As an animated film, it is absolutely amazing. And then you have Miles Morales, the game. I don't know if you played the video game yet or not. The movie or the storyline behind it, awesome.
oh yeah.
Like you're immersed into this video game, no different than you are into a movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and the reason I thought I was expecting Cooper to say that is because him and I and his mom and my mom, my wife and his mom. Man, my mom took us all to the movies. My mom would take us all to the movies though if I asked.
absolutely.
What's she doing later? She want to drive us
Mom,
there
would
now.
you take us to the movies
Can
tonight?
we go to the movies?
No, but we all went to see Into the Spider-Verse, and it was one of Cooper's first times going to the movies, and I think he's a little bit nervous about it, but man, he loved that movie. I remember him when Spider-Man Noir is out there, and he's like, he says that one quote, he's like, and I hear Cooper just repeat it, laughing, hard-boiled turtle slapper, like.
Is Noir? Is that Nick Cage?
Yeah, Nick Cage,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
voice him. That's great version. So,
Well, I mean that's a fantastic conversation though here. I mean,
Yeah.
we went through our top movies in the MCU. We went through the worst movies in the MCU. We went through our top heroes, our top villains, and who we want to see next. Basically, roll into here. I mean, that's a pretty good coverage here.
yeah, a lot of hay to eat there. Pretty big bale of hay. So.
Yeah, so I would ask everybody out there watching and listening, let us know what you'd think. So, who do you want to see come into the MCU? Where do you rank your most favorite heroes and favorite villains in the MCU? Let us know by leaving us a comment.
More so, point out who is right and who is wrong on these lists because I want to know that I was right on some of these things and how.
Primarily,
wrong.
if Chad was wrong, let us know that.
I just need everybody to remember. Just focus on Yondu. Please tell Chad where he
I can't
ranks
wait.
on that.
One more time, Clint. Put it up here.
No, he murdered some children.
He definitely not great. And shout out to Phil Coulson, underrated hero in the first Avenger movie. And that spinoff, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was underrated. I know
Yeah.
we didn't touch on many of the TV shows, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was much better than.
I knew you were a big fan of that one.
Phil Coulson was awesome.
I
I loved his character.
Clark Gregg as that character was incredible. Coulson he was another straight and narrow. You always knew. He
In
was
Captain
good
Marvel, like you got to see like
Yeah.
the pure side of him in Captain Marvel,
I
which was
forgot
awesome.
he was
He did
in
what he was-
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, he did what he was right, not what he was supposed
Yeah.
to.
Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
like when he's in the staircase and he's like, "Nope,
yeah.
it's all clear," and it's like, "Heck yeah, dude!"
Yeah,
Like you,
that's doing
you
what's
know.
right, not what you're supposed to.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I love that part.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk to you about that sometime off camera, just because there's isn't Ghost Rider in there, and then like
Oh, yeah.
or Mockingbird, and, like there's a ton of
Well,
really big.
it also introduced the Darkhold, which
Oh,
you
yeah,
see
did
at the end of
yeah.
WandaVision. So
Yeah.
that introduced the Darkhold. We got a little bit of backstory on it there. That was still before they time traveled, so it'd still technically be part of this timeline. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that TV showed. It's like the movies forgot it.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah.
But man, it was still great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Whedon did that, didn't he? Wasn't he involved in that?
He started at the beginning, and then he's like, "Hey, we're doing 20 movies right now. I don't have time for."
I thought Joss Whedon had at least had something to do with the
I
start.
can't
of that,
remember
so.
it. He handed it off to somebody else who ran it most of the time, but they worked on it together at the beginning.
Well, hey, with that, I think that wraps up this episode of the Pandora Theater. B, I want to say thanks again for stopping by and joining us here.
Oh, I'm just glad you guys put up with me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I say you stop by next time for the next version, the future. What do you say about that?
I've probably got time.
All right, let's do
All
that.
right. Surprisingly, the next thing you'll probably see us wear this exact same attire because we're going to record it right now after we end this.
Oh, I brought a change of clothes.
Nice. He's a pro. So, all right. Well, hey, one thing to remember, we're available wherever you listen to podcasts at. We're also available, of course, on YouTube. Give us a subscribe. Be sure to ring the bell to get notified each and every time that we put up content. And thanks again for listening. So with that, the credits are rolling.
Lights are coming on.
And that's the end of the show.